Yes. Good morning mga katribo. It's Wednesday, December 13. Welcome to another episode of Daily Tribune Street Talk, where we discuss current issues that matter to each of us. This is Gigie Arcilla.
Good morning. I am Teddy Montelibano. We are live on Daily Tribune's Facebook page and Tribune Now on YouTube.
And in this morning's episode, we are joined by, of course, no other than the spokesperson, the Undersecretary for the Department of Trade's Communications, Undersecretary Kim Bernardo-Lokin. Welcome to the show.
Welcome to our show, Ma'am. Okay.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for inviting me, the DTI, and my team. Thank you very much.
Yes.
Yeah, we are honored
To have you here. By the way, Ted, Undersecretary Kim is used to be with the media.
Well, that's great. So
Yeah.
it's it's smooth to talk to you.
Well,
I guess we will have a smooth conversation.
Oh, hopefully, sir. Yes, I hope so too.
Yes.
All
And
right.
how long have you been with media?
Oh, I think that has been my longest career.
Okay.
I've always been in and out of the media. After my stint after university, my first stint was in a newspaper already. So
Okay, that's
I
great.
started writing for a newspaper, and then after that, I went straight to TV as a production assistant.
Okay.
So I started from the low ranks going up. So
That's great. Okay.
so I had that was the longest period po. And then I had a little bit of a break when I went into government via Congress. And then after that, back to the media, and now another stint with the
You
government.
serve one term, no?
Opo. Actually, it was 2 terms, but it's complicated. Sabi nga ng Facebook, status mo, it's complicated.
Yeah, so
But
let's
how does it feel to be on the other end of the news? Because you're now Undersecretary for Communications.
That's right.
For
Actually,
the DTI, no?
for the DTI, Sir Teddy, this is the first time that the DTI will have a communications group. So I understand that previously, like in most government offices, departments, meron po silang mga tinatawag na public relations unit. So that mostly takes care of
Media.
the releases ng galing sa Office of the Secretary, and then all the other points, right? But I think in this administration, and also from PCO back then, kita natin lumalaki the growing importance of communications. And finally, in this administration of President Marcos, that is really one of the priorities. They wanted to focus more on communications so that in this world of social media at saka so much fake news going around, they want to make sure that what is coming out is real, is true, and verified,
Not filtered.
Yeah.
not filtered.
Not filtered.
Opo.
And there's someone talking. It's not a robot.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Yes, oo. So, yun nga eh. So that has been quite, I was very happy personally with that for the Department of Trade and Industry, because at least now we get to introduce to them newer ways of dealing and engaging with the consumers, the stakeholders, and hopefully because of this, mas maganda yung labas ng messaging ng DTI.
I'd like maybe to start, then maybe Gigie can take over. But I would just want, if you can give us like just a brief overall of how the year has been for DTI. Then maybe we can talk later about the consumers,
Right.
relationship with.
Yes, okay, Teddy. When you talk about how it has been for the DTI, the Department of Trade and Industry is one of the departments that has a very wide range from the
Yes.
smallest, the consumer, all the way to international, the largest. So because it is trade and investment, Secretary Pascual wanted to make sure that on the investment side, at the very least, he wanted to make sure that the FDIs will come in, the foreign direct investments will come in. So that is also the reason why you see a lot of time of the secretary looking at all of these investments. So to make it short, foreign investments 1 trillion according to the Board of Investments. That is the investment approvals from January to October of this year.
$1
So
trillion
that's 1
in dollar
trillion.
terms.
1 trillion pesos, okay, not
Pesos,
dollars.
I'm
I
sorry.
mean,
Okay. Yeah.
I'd love to see
Don't
the
we all?
day that it would
Don't
become
we all?
dollars, yes, but yes, 1 trillion pesos, but that already represents an 86% growth
Okay, well,
from last year, sir.
okay.
Because last year we had 576.21 billion for the same period of last year. And hindi pa yan, ang BOI, ang target po nila is 1.5 trillion
Okay, great.
approvals, investment approvals for this year.
So we're short of 500.
So not bad. So
100 million.
hopefully, we're going to check again this year end the numbers, the approvals. And in terms of foreign and direct investments, we have seen a 567% increase.
So that's quite.
It
more
is
than 500
huge,
plus.
but
Oh,
of
that's
course,
good, huh?
Gigi, because we came from a pandemic, so
Yeah,
obviously, foreign and domestic investments,
Yeah.
the world ground to a halt,
Yes.
practically. But having said that, we had about 757.33 billion pesos in terms of foreign investments that came in. Domestic side, 316.22 billion. So, more or less, hindi naman po tayo nahuhuli. And then, when you talk about top sources, kinumpile ko na lahat para sa inyo. So,
Thank you.
top sources of our FDI, it's Germany.
Germany
So,
is on
yes,
top, huh?
Germany. So, Germany has given us a total of 393.28 billion.
These are not pledges. These are actual FDIs.
Opo, these are foreign direct investments already. So I think traditionally when I looked at last year's and the previous year's data, ang laki talaga ng Germany. So they're the number one source natin when it comes to FDIs.
And where are they investing? In
Where
what
are
sectors?
they
In what
investing?
sectors?
What industries?
Okay,
Industries and
so
sectors.
basically, several industries, sir, including energy.
Energy,
So they talk about renewables. So
Renewables,
in
yeah.
particular,
Germany is
because
very
EU is big on renewables.
That's correct. Yeah.
So they're heavily into that. They also have manufacturing, and on top of that, we noticed that when you look at the FDIs, it's also still the EU market that is the biggest that came into the Philippines.
Yeah,
So the
more
next,
than the US, huh?
isn't it surprising? So like even I was surprised. So but I hope that turns around now because we seem to be on friendlier terms. Probably because that was also the policy last time of the previous administration. So the other one is the Netherlands. So you see EU again
Even
po.
Netherlands, huh?
Yeah, so they had
Yeah.
333.61 billion. So
Dollars,
making them the
dollars.
second top.
This is dollars.
Hindi po, pesos po.
Peso na.
Pesos.
Peso always,
Opo,
okay.
kino-convert ko po sa pesos
Converted
kasi when we report all of these, it's easier to deal with pesos
Yeah.
para wala tayong misunderstandings.
Tsaka wala nang hirap sa,
Conversion.
Sa conversion.
Yeah,
Opo.
because it keeps on fluctuating.
That's
Does
true.
It keeps on fluctuating, ba? Or
So,
are we unsteady? Yeah.
Usec, what are the top 5
Top 5
in
na.
terms of, sabi mo nga,
So
it's
Germany,
Germany and then
Netherlands.
Netherlands.
Oo nga, teka muna,
But the
hanapin
UK.
natin dito sa listahan natin. Kasi medyo marami-rami to. But I think in general, it's Germany, Netherlands, and I think the third is Singapore, if I'm not mistaken, no? So I read about that. I don't know the others.
about the
I'll
UK?
tell you the others later. Nandito
Alright.
siya sa aking listahan. But I think we focused on the top 3 because the first 2 in particular had significant FDIs. So, ibig
Singapore,
sabihin,
Singapore.
Singapore, you would be
Okay, not
surprised,
the UK
right?
or in Japan, huh?
No, yes, correct. Yeah, so
See, if,
third is Singapore.
if we would compare
Okay, so
from like years ago,
we also had US and France din naman.
Ah,
So
okay.
according to Attorney Isis.
alright.
Okay, so It's pretty good, but nothing compared to Germany, of course.
Really,
Right.
yeah? That's
Oo.
good to know.
All right. So speaking of foreign investments,
Yes, ma'am.
yes, the president is going to Japan,
Yes.
yeah, soon.
Mhm.
And what do we expect from that trip in
Okay.
terms of course, trade?
Okay, so Opo, this I think is the last presidential visit
For
for
the
the
year. For
year.
the year. Yeah.
For the year, right? So mahaba pa po yung next year niya na listahan. But for this year, it is the ASEAN-Japan Commemorative Summit. And as most of the presidential visits, it's the PTIC. This is the Trade Investment Corporation, which is
On top
under
of
the
it, yeah.
DTI, of course. So that spearheads that. What can we expect? Since this is the second visit of the president to Japan, I think the number one there would be to check on the status of the investment pledges, because there had been pledges last time,
Yes.
and we understand that there had been very good news that I don't want to preempt the president.
Yes, of course.
We will let him say that.
Yeah.
But I think it's safe to say that among those investment pledges from the last time, quite a significant number had materialized.
That's great.
So
That's great to know.
that's one.
So we
So
look forward to that. No?
Opo, I mean, I hope we see more of that soon. And there will also be bilateral talks, continuous bilateral talks, apart from and roundtable meetings for that one. I think what will happen now is that you will also see some investment, more investment pledges coming in. There will be signings of investment agreements between the president and the business community in Japan, and then the government. And Secretary Pascual will also be there, of course. And but of course, the delegation is led by the president himself. So yun po ang gist of that one. They're pretty positive that with this trip, it will be a good cap or a good year ender.
Do
You
we
said earlier that you were at the EU. There's negotiations between the Philippines and the EU, no, for an
Opo.
FTA, for a free trade agreement.
Yes.
Can you give? Can you tell us something about that?
Yes.
How is it going? How is it
Okay, yes,
progressing?
Daddy. I think it's going to be a good idea to talk about a little bit of the background first, because our status with the EU is GSP plus.
Okay.
So that is the generalized
System of
yes,
preferences. Yeah.
yes, scheme preferences plus. So that is where we are right now, and of course, it has always been our hope to go to a FTA for a free trade agreement with the EU. So last June and July, the secretary led a big delegation from the DTI. I was part of the trip, including the Department of Energy. So what we did was we tried to talk to different stakeholders or potential businessmen and the officials of the EU from 5 countries. This is Paris in France, we had London, we had the Netherlands, we had Belgium, and finally Germany, Berlin. So we were all there. So what is the difference between then and now? From what we had seen, the attitude of the EU had been mostly positive this time around. Of course, we had to deal with the questions where they are heavy on talk about human rights, climate change. These are the things that the EU would always ask from you, right? And I think they were quite satisfied with the answer. And so what happened was this Secretary Pascual was actually promised that maybe this time around we'll look into that towards an FTA. And I think the biggest validation of that the EU will have an FTA with the Philippines finally was the visit of Ursula von der Leyen, the European Commission head in the Philippines, end of July,
Yes.
July 31, I think. And this was the only country that she had visited.
That's great.
And she that came right down the heels, from the heels of our trip.
That's great.
So, and then I think she mentioned there that the EU is ready to open up talks for an FTA with the Philippines. And I think at this point, we are now going to embark on the
That's
scoping
fantastic.
side.
What do you mean by
So,
scoping? What's the scope of this?
right.
Okay.
I think the process is because I'm not too familiar with the process, but I think the process is that if you go to an FTA, before going there, there will be negotiations. The first, but first there will be scoping. That
Which
means we have
products?
to
Yeah.
lay down the rules. Where we can talk about, okay, so which business, under what,
Right, yeah.
because these are preferential for, like, preferential tariff systems.
Correct,
So which industries are they particular? I think that's the one that they need to talk about.
Correct.
And from what I understand is that when you talk about a free trade agreement, it would take about negotiations. Sometimes would take about 2-3 years, sometimes 6 years. So there's no particular time frame for that. But we are very confident that because the EU is very interested in the Philippines right now, it will be sooner than we expect.
Yeah, but the most important thing is that it has been started officially.
Yes, sir.
That's
We
the
were
great
quite
thing, yeah.
yes, we were quite happy because I mean the mere fact that
After a lag of 6 years.
yes, that's correct. That's true. So we're looking forward to that one, and the interest is so different.
That's fantastic.
If you look at it,
Enthusiastic and positive.
yes, it's we were surprised. As a matter of fact, and I think it's attributable to several things. One, they have a what you call a de-risking policy. So because of geopolitics, right? So they want to minimize their risks with what's going on. I think their investments had been hampered elsewhere because of, like, war games and threats and geopolitics. So I think it's fair to say that they're looking at other ASEAN countries
Yes.
or Asian countries.
Yeah.
And what's interesting is that, especially in France, they said they were looking at the VIP in Asia. And I
What's
said,
VIP?
what's a VIP? So that's Vietnam, Indonesia, and the Philippines. So I
Fantastic,
said,
yeah.
so we were surprised, like, okay, so we're part of it. So yes, we seem to be from London. One reporter from the Financial Times said the Philippines seem to be on the sweet spot
Great.
right now.
That's
so,
fantastic to
So
hear.
despite
Yeah.
all the noise that we have right now and that we see right now, you can actually tell when you go outside that there's really such a huge interest
That's
in the
fantastic.
Philippines.
That's
So
great.
that's good news.
That's great. Yeah, very
So,
good.
and then let's give the good news to our consumers. Usec.
I hope that.
So, with the Christmas holidays approaching, so what is there for consumers, especially on Noche Buena?
Noche Buena.
goods?
Okay, so alam mo, Gigi, kasi kaya ako nagtagalog kasi consumer, di ba? So this has been discussed already. So yung Noche Buena, we released the price guide, hindi po ba? So this was in late November. And now we have a new assistant secretary to talk about mostly about those consumers. And I think the secretary also, Secretary Pascual, had a briefing recently with along with ASEC Amanda Nograles about that precisely on the Noche Buena. So what can we tell you? The price guide hopefully is a guide that consumers can look to where they can choose to decide where their budget would fit them. So it is aimed at helping them arrive at certain decisions. So, and that's in accordance with the Consumer and the Price Act of the Philippines. So, yun po yung layunin ng Price Act, which is different from the SRP. So SRP kasi
yeah,
is suggested retail price. Yun pong mga under dito sa nilabas na price guide ng Noche Buena, hindi naman po kasi lahat 'yan kasama naman doon sa BNPC. Ito po yung basic necessities and prime commodities. Ito po yung mga in particular na nakalagay doon sa batas. These are the ones na kailangan talagang i-monitor ng DTI. So the DTI is mandated to do that. But, having said that, under the Consumer Act, lahat naman yan kailangan natin tignan, di ba? But with a special focus only on the BNPC. So, sa madaling salita, sa palagay ko naman, nakita naman natin yung inilabas ng price guide na yon, hindi naman po, mostly nag-comply naman po ang ating mga, when you look at the prices, kasi galing din sa manufacturers yan.
Ito yung tanong. There's a
Sige.
price guide.
Okay.
And then there's an SRP.
Yes.
Paano if the the retailer,
Yes.
doesn't follow, the guide
Oo.
or the prices set for?
Would there be sanctions?
So, are there sanctions?
Actually,
kasi sabi
oo.
mo nga, Usec, there's a monitoring, di ba?
Yes, there's monitoring. Kasi, kailangan tandaan po natin that this is a free market. Nasa demokrasya po tayo. Hindi naman natin din pwede silang
Salhan.
oo, hindi natin
Lock
pwedeng
up.
i-censure, hindi natin pwedeng sabihin hanggang dito ka lang, unless
sige,
there are conditions that would merit such. So having said that, kaya po naglalabas ng SRP at saka ng price guide. For example, sa SRP in particular, merong mga shelf-keeping units na nakalista. Ito po yung mga basic commodities natin na nakalista doon. Yun yung binabantayan natin. Doon, meron silang sanctions. Ang first step is that yung mga iba, kapag may nakikita sila na nagva-violate doon, ang ginagawa ng aming Fair Trade Enforcement Bureau, nagpapadala ng letter of inquiry. Okay? Kasi sana maintindihan natin ng ating mga kababayan na ito po ay dahil sa tinatawag natin na nakabase sa BNPC, yung ating SRP, yung Price Act of 7581. Okay, anong ibig sabihin nito? Meron po tayong penalties dyan, pero ito naman ay dahil nag-agree yung presyong ito, nag-agree yung manufacturers, hanggang dito lang po kami, ito po yung presyo namin. Ito po yung recommendation namin ng presyo namin. Sasabihin namin, okay, titingnan natin, reasonable ba? O masyadong mataas ba yung pinapataw ninyo na price? Ngayon, kung nag-agree tayo at nakita natin reasonable, okay, we will agree. DTI says, okay, eto na yung price natin based on your recommendation. So ilalabas mo. So magtataka ka ngayon kung itinaas nila more than the recommendation nila. Ang tanong, bakit kayo ang nagtataas, ang manufacturers, 'di ba? So
may agreement na eh. No?
oo nga. Okay.
Gigi.
So I think meron kayatang commercial break muna, Gigie.
Baliktad na, no? It's the guest who's reminding. Kasi interesting eh.
Yes, oo.
Maraming,
kulang
everyone,
isang oras dito eh.
Lahat nagpe-prepare talaga for Noche
That's
Buena.
right,
Kahit
And prices kasi are really what consumers pocket.
Totoo po yun,
When it comes
kasi-
to the pocket of the
Oo,
consumers.
eh.
So,
yun ang talaga eh.
Bago
crucial.
natin sagutin,
bago sagutin ni Usec, Kim. So we'll go for a short break.
This break is brought to you by Angkas, Beat the Traffic, Bayad Center, hashtag Bigger Better Younger Bayad, and you can buy it all. Globe, atin ang mundo. Meralco, ang liwanag ng bukas. SM, we've got it all for you. Smart, live more today. Union Bank, it starts with you. A wellness show dedicated to empowering viewers with the knowledge and inspiration needed to lead a healthy lifestyle. Be Well Now, hosted by Miss Cory Crino, every Wednesday at 2 p.m. only here at Daily Tribune's Facebook page and Tribune Now in YouTube.
Alamin ang pinakamaiinit na balita at mahalagang issue na bumabalot ngayon sa ating bansa. Ating pag-usapan, blow by blow, dito lang sa Hot Patatas, kasama sila Chicky Mangkukang, Vernon Velasco at Gio Leaño. Yung Lunes, Miyerkules at Biyernes, alas 3 ng hapon, dito lang sa Daily Tribune Facebook page at Tribune Now sa YouTube.
Conversations that are masterclasses from the top honchos of various industries. Learn from their strategies and insights so you yourself can unlock your full potential. Perfect every Friday at 2 p.m. only here on Daily Tribune's Facebook page and Tribune Now in YouTube. Creative minds, entertainment icons, style influencers. We shine the spotlight on remarkable individuals who shape our cultural landscape. Every Tuesday at 2 p.m. only here in Daily Tribune's Facebook page and Tribune Now in YouTube. Parayan at talakayang showbiz times 2, doble-doble! Kasama ang dalawa sa walang kupas na talakayan ng showbiz, Alwin Ignacio at Alex Brosas. DTT Show, tuwing Sabado at Linggo, alas 4 ng hapon. Dito lang sa Diaryo Tirada ng Daily Tribune. Straight Talk dives deep into present issues of leadership, politics, business, and more. Engage in insightful conversations with industry shakers, government leaders, and trailblazers every Wednesday at 10 a.m. only here on Daily Tribune's Facebook page and Tribune Now in YouTube.
All right, we're back. Good.
Yeah,
And
very interesting
still
conversation.
We're
Very
still
interesting
with
discussion.
Usec
Okay.
Kim here,
Yes, thank
who
you.
is very articulate in explaining to us, Yes, parang kulang ating 1 hour. So let's
Kulang,
proceed,
kulang.
Ted.
Yes.
So I was,
Yes.
yes, during the break, I was asking Usec Kim, so how do you monitor? I mean, there's an enforcement bureau, doing that, and medyo nag-wonder nga ako, are the personnel of, the enforcement bureau enough?
Actually, that's always one of the constraints of government naman, di ba? We never have enough people to do what is needed, di ba? But however, effective naman po yung aming Fair Trade Enforcement Bureau or FTEB as we call them. What we do po is we
Fair Trade
partner with
Enforcement
the Regional Operations Group of the DTI. So, ang kanila pong ginagawa, when they start monitoring, meron po silang even nationwide, meron po silang listahan, may guide po tayo ng prices based on what was agreed upon by the manufacturers and the DTI. So, dun po nila binabase yon, dun po yung monitoring. Ngayon, nagsasubmit sila sa DTI main, sa FTEB, kung meron po silang nakikita na malaking deviation. And sabi nga po, during the break, yun nga po yung SRP nga, di ba? Yung kasi binabantayan po nila is profiteering. Yun naman ang talagang hindi pwede. Kasi yung ang profiteering, it is defined in the law as SRP plus 10%. That means, kung lumagpas sa 10% ng SRP ng isang produkto na ito, ang nakalagay na presyo doon, then it's already tantamount to profiteering. Doon ngayon nagtitrigger yan. So, that's number one. And that's punishable by law. So, doon na papasok yung mga batas natin. So, what the FTEB does is, I think you should invite them kasi magandang usapin ito di ba? They'd be in a better capacity to be able to tell you. I can recommend to you next time si Director Philip Sawali, who is the head of Fair Trade Enforcement Bureau. But the first step is normally an LOI. So,
It's
a letter of inquiry.
Letter of inquiry.
Yes, sir. Kasi papa-explain mo muna. Kasi nga naman, baka naman reasonable yung kanyang magiging sagot. Kasi titingnan po natin yan, nagtaas ba yung price ng raw materials? Merong substantial increase ba? So, then they will make a determination. So, sunod-sunod po na proseso yan. And they also are the ones that recommend. Halimbawa, nakita nila, napatunayan, na sa tingin nila, ito po malinaw na kayo po ay profiteering, yun, ine-endorse na po yun for
Ang question,
action.
how long does the process take?
Ay, tatanong natin kay Director Philip
Kasi
Sawali.
kunyari, ngayon, Pasko, I mean,
Yes.
today is December
Right.
13. And then, of course, Noche Buena, malapit na.
Yeah.
Tama.
And then, you nakita nyo na merong profiteering. So, yung proseso, baka
Right.
natapos na yung New Year, tuloy-tuloy pa rin siya nakakapagbenta.
That's true.
And the other thing is this.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm a consumer. I go to the market, and whatever the vendor says, this is the price. So I call, I buy it.
Sure.
But I didn't know na
Taas.
ano na pala yan, mas mataas na yun pala sa SRP or
That's
even
right.
more than 10%
Yes.
allowable. So,
Paano?
isn't it that the final is the consumer? I mean, if
pero,
the
sir,
market,
yes.
if the vendor says, okay, this is my price, and kinuha niya okay na sa kanya. So,
And then,
so who's going to,
and then nalaman pagdating ng bahay, sabi, bumili rin pala yung anak. And then, ang bili niya,
Yeah, I
50
guess.
pesos, nabili lang ng 30 pesos.
But what I
ng
mean
anak.
is that
That's true. But
Isn't it-
okay, so
no,
this
di
is
ba?
like this. It's actually a two-way street, Teddy and Gigi. Siyempre, kung ikaw consumer, you demand that, meron ka rin namang tinatawag ng pagiging responsible consumer. Dapat informed ka rin naman. Hindi naman po pwede na pupunta ka doon, hindi ka informed. Halimbawa, gusto mong bumili nito, eto yung budget mo lang, di ba? Siyempre, you do a little bit of research. It's like buying online, hindi ba? Or bibili ka ng damit. Gusto kong bumili ng damit, gusto kong bumili ng suit, for example, pero ito lang budget ko. Normally, magka-canvas ka, hindi ba? So, I think, ganun din yun. It's a two-way street. So, wag natin siguro isipin na gobyerno lang ang dapat na tumingin nito para sa atin. Although government should do that, but on our part, we should also be a responsible consumer. So, dapat naman kahit papano, di ba? Basa-basa din siguro pag
Do
may
your
time.
part.
Yeah.
Oo, yun. So,
And,
yun naman po. Yes,
The other
sir.
thing- well, maybe this is for the FTEB. Pero, would you know how do they enforce? Do they padlock the store? I mean, caught.
Nako, Sir Teddy, I think that question is very specific for the FTEB.
FTEB, yeah.
So, I think we have to talk to them. I think you should guess them. We'll recommend na lang
Yeah, that would
for...
be a good idea.
Oo, we'll recommend
Thank you.
our directors there.
Sige.
Meron pa kaming Bureau of Philippine Standards. So,
Dami,
doon
ah.
naman yung PS Mark, di ba? So, but that's another realm for them to talk about. So,
Eto, may ano tayo, text-in question. Is 1K enough for Noche Buena?
1,000.
nako, alam mo kasi yan, tricky question yan eh. Diyan napatid last year yung yung DTI eh. So, okay, siguro...
Depende kung anong ihanda.
Oo.
Yeah, depende kung
Tsaka, depende po yan sa sa pamilya, hindi ba? Hindi naman tayo pwedeng, the DTI naman, hindi naman yan magpepeg ng, ganito lang yung presyo ng Noche Buena nyo o dapat ganito, okay ka na, di ba?
Sa dilata lang, tapos ka na eh.
Oo.
Dilata, corned beef, wala na yung 1,000.
Oo nga eh. So,
It's not the
sa
same
atin,
anymore.
I think the responsibility of the Department of Trade, more than saying kung magkano ang dapat na presyo ng Noche Buena, dapat ang responsibilidad ng DTI, sabihin sa ating mga consumer na ito po yung ranges ng mga presyo. Kung ito po ang budget ninyo, dito lang po kayo. Ito po yung range ng budget nyo, medyo mas mataas ng konti. Ito po, meron din po sila. So at the end of the day, you still get the same ham, you still get the same cheese, you still get the same spaghetti, right? So, and it's just a range of options for you to choose from. And I think that's important to point out. Halimbawa po, sa pamilya, yung anak ninyo papasok sa eskwela, di ba? Sino ba naman ayaw padala yung anak niya sa pinakamagandang eskwelahan? Hindi kaya ng budget. But there are other schools. So ganun din po. That's
Alternatives.
how I look at it, right? So, I mean, that's probably a different point of view, but I think that should be the point of view that
Yeah.
others are
Should be the
also
guide, yeah.
So
looking
that's
at.
the answer to the
Oo.
question. So,
Di ba? So, nasagot ka ba, Gigi?
Nasagot. It was a safe answer.
I think we're all in agreement to that.
Managing the expectation.
We're all
Yes,
in agreement that
correct.
1,000 is no longer this.
Hindi naman. Depende.
I mean, from 1,000, I mean,
Yeah,
3-4 years ago, it's not.
Yeah,
Kasi
well,
meron yung sinasabi
inflation
Usec,
eh.
diba? I
Yeah.
mean, there's a difference between a want and a need.
That's correct,
Diba?
Gigi. That's correct. Okay, so what might be, very good meal for one might not be the same for the other.
Yeah.
So kanya-kanya po yan from a different point of view.
Yeah.
But yes, you're right. Of course, inflation has got
Yeah.
something to do with it also. And it's a global thing. Hindi lang po yan dito sa Pilipinas.
Is it ever possible to, is it ever possible to roll back prices? Is that at all possible?
Sir, in this world, everything can be theoretically possible. But I think what we have to look at is that, okay, logistics-wise, bumaba ba, umakyat ba, ang gasolina ba, umakyat, bumaba, tapos yung...
So many factors, no?
Opo.
It's really
And then, apart from that, yung cost ng raw materials. Kasi because we're coming from a pandemic, yun pong raw materials yung ginagamit nyo para sa produkto na to ay available ba o hindi. Ngayon, di ba, that's when law of supply and demand comes in. Kung hindi mo makita, edi syempre tataas.
Minsan ang problema dyan, speaking of raw materials, laging sasabihin, tumaas yung presyo ng raw materials.
Opo.
But then, yung stock naman ng retailer, from previous pa. And then, they have the, mag-i-increase sila, price increase.
Right.
When in fact, they bought it for,
5
much
years ago.
cheaper 5 years ago.
Oh, if it's consumable items, I look at it this way. Obviously, meron silang mas malaking kita pagka ganon, hindi naman dapat ganon. So, you cannot, yun ang appeal po ng DTI. Don't take advantage naman po of the consumers. Kasi, we can only appeal to you for that one. Kasi, hindi po kayang i-monitor ng DTI yan completely. Every store, every supermarket. However, having said that, yung namang on the risk on the side of retailers, when they hoard, kasi bawal po yun di ba? Is that, sige, i-hoard mo ng i-hoard, hindi bibili yung tao, may expiry date yan.
Yeah.
So, kung na-expire yan, lugi ka rin, di ba? So,
Yes,
as an entrepreneur, titingnan mo rin yan that way. So, there are always several factors to that. But yes, I do agree, and that's why this is where the appeal of the DTI comes in. Hindi naman po natin kaya yan tignan. Bawat isang store, sari-sari store, supermarket, all the way there to the warehouses, hindi po yan kaya. So, that is why we have a constant dialogue with manufacturers. So, wag naman po, ano po ba yung reasonable? Ito yung isasubmit nila. Pagkatapos, titingnan natin kung okay ba ito, reasonable ba, kung bakit ito yung presyo. And when it's reasonable, then we come out with it. So, that's why I could not understand sometimes, na bigla sila magrereklamo out of the blue, hindi ba? So, anyway, that's another issue, Gigi.
Alright.
So, baka awayin tayo Pasko
Do you
pa,
have these
Pasko.
regular discussions with the manufacturers? With,
Yes, sir.
Do you have regular, and how
Yes,
do
sir.
you call for it?
The Consumer Protection Group, which is one group under the Department of Trade and Industry, is the one that handles consumers. So they protect the consumer. That's why it's Consumer Protection Group. Even the Fair Trade Enforcement Bureau goes under this. It's under this group. And what they do is they do regularly monitor. There's a submission of reports. They do have a process, and I would highly recommend for them, kung meron po kayong space sa kanila next time, paupuin po natin sila dito so that they can explain to you in detail how this goes. So, meron po yan, tuloy-tuloy po yung monitoring natin. It's a regular
So
monitoring.
we'll save the question, Ted, for our
Yes.
next
That's
That's very
correct.
from the
Oo.
FTED.
Yeah, I think that
Eto, before we go for another commercial break, etong text-in question.
Okay.
Ano daw ang tip ng DTI for consumers para makatipid for Noche Buena and the Medianoche?
Actually, hindi lang medianoche at saka Noche Buena. Terms pa, kung paano ang tips po namin para makatipid, be a responsible consumer. Siguro po ang ibig sabihin nito, let's practice sustainable practices. That's one. Makakatipid po tayo dyan. Yung mga ginagamit natin, yung reusable. Let's go for reusable. Let's go for organic. Let's go for local.
Alright. So, we'll go,
Yeah. Okay.
punta tayo dun sa
Yeah.
medyo, sabi nga ng mga nosebleed na information that we need from Usec Kim. But after we pause for a commercial break.
This break is brought to you by Hangkas, Beat the Traffic, Bayad Center, hashtag Bigger Better Younger Bayad, and you can buy it all. Globe, atin ang mundo. Meralco, ang liwanag ng bukas. SM, we've got it all for you. Smart, live more today. Union Bank, it starts with you.
A wellness show dedicated to empowering viewers with the knowledge and inspiration needed to lead a healthy lifestyle. Be Well Now, hosted by Miss Cory Crino, every Wednesday at 2 p.m. only here at Daily Tribune's Facebook page and Tribune Now in YouTube.
Alamin ang pinakamaiinit na balita at mahalagang issue na bumabalot ngayon sa ating bansa. Ating pag-usapan, blow by blow, dito lang sa Hot Patatas, kasama sila Chicky Mangkukang, Vernon Velasco at Gio Leaño. Yung Lunes, Miyerkules at Biyernes, alas 3 ng hapon, dito lang sa Daily Tribune Facebook page at Tribune Now sa YouTube.
Conversations that are masterclasses from the top honchos of various industries. Learn from their strategies and insights so you yourself can unlock your full potential. Perfect every Friday at 2 p.m. only here on Daily Tribune's Facebook page and Tribune Now in YouTube. Creative minds, entertainment icons, style influencers. We shine the spotlight on remarkable individuals who shape our cultural landscape. Every Tuesday at 2 p.m., only here in Daily Tribune's Facebook page and Tribune Now in YouTube.
Okay, so speaking of entrepreneurship, dami na nating entrepreneur sa Pilipinas ngayon. I mean, we have they're online, Ted.
Oh.
So what measures
yeah.
is the DTI taking to encourage more entrepreneurs
Okay.
and innovators?
Okay, so maraming salamat. Medyo mahaba-haba po ang sagot dyan actually. So hihimayin natin. We start with the MSMEs, for example, because normally they're the ones that need a lot of help. So yung mga micro, small, medium enterprises, meron po tayong for domestic and more for export. So ang thrust ng DTI ngayon, in accordance with the 8-point socio-economic agenda of the President, is that i-enable natin sila, i-capacitate natin sila para kung ano yung kinalalagyan nila ngayon ay aangat ng kahit isang level man lang. So what does that mean? For the DTI, it means yung mga micro entrepreneurs, the small entrepreneurs that are, let's say, they have their products, selling it domestically. We try to train them, teach them, and to be exporters. That's the next step. So kahit po sabihin natin, ngayon po, we also have new laws. For example, the OTOP law has become a law. It is one town, one product.
Yes.
Alam ko, nung nasa kongreso pa po ako, nung congressman pa po ako, so many years back, meron na pong OTOP. So this was a program na ginawang batas ngayon. And I feel that napakagandang batas po nito. So, one town, one product, let's say, sa isang region. So, halimbawa, pili, or mga kakao, ganon. Doon sa bayan ninyo, ganon yon. So, lahat kayo, ganon ang negosyo ninyo, hindi ba? But, how do you make your reach wider? Kung saan na pwedeng ibenta sa labas, hindi ba?
Export, yeah.
I-export. So, that's what DTI is trying to do. So, we give seminars, we give trainings, the regional operations group, the domestic trade, meron po kaming mga trade counselors, both for domestic, and then meron din po kaming export marketing bureau. What this does, EMB, this bureau conducts trainings and teaches the would-be exporters how to make it and sell their wares abroad.
Procedure, no,
Opo. And then the third one, we utilize the current trade agreements that we have right now. For example, RCEP, yung Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership, ano po yun 15, 15 bansa kasama po tayo doon. So that is, siguro sa mas madaling maintindihan, ASEAN plus 5. So yung 10 members ng ASEAN, including us, plus 5. What is that? China, Japan, Australia, and
Korea.
New Zealand and Korea. Okay, so 15 countries ng RCEP. So since pumasok na po tayo dyan this June, since we came in, this June, pumapasok na rin po yung kanilang mga produkto dito sa atin on that lower and preferential tariffs, di ba? So medyo saan po tayo nalulugi doon? Ang lugi tayo is that yung mga iba nating mga produkto ngayon, hindi siya for export, hindi export quality. Why? Sometimes it can be as simple as the packaging. Yung packaging mo, halimbawa, export mo sa labas, di mo naman nakalagay doon kung kailan ang expiry date niya, ano yung ingredients niya, ano yung mga allergens, for example. And these are standards, international standards, right? Number 2, yung language that is being used, di ba? So, you use the international language of business. So, kung hindi po nakalagay yun doon, hindi po natin sila pwedeng i-export. Di ba? Number 3, kung yung packaging mo ay hindi tatagal pagdating doon, sira na yung produkto mo. Di ba? So, those are just some of the things. So, what the DTI is trying to do is to address that issue kaagad. Para ngayon pa lang, meron na tayong fighting chance. Para sila pumapasok dito, kaya rin natin mag-export palabas. So, that's one, sir.
But how about credit? I think one of the most important ingredients there in that whole lot is credit, no? How
Oh,
how
okay.
does it
So
how does the DTI help
okay, for the DTI, one of our
microentrepreneurs?
attached agencies is the SB Corp. Opo, so Small Business Corporation. And this is the agency that lends to micro, small entrepreneurs.
Interest free?
Um, Meron pong interest dyan, pero minimal kasi government po tayo eh.
Actually, nag-guest
So,
na natin si,
yung head ng
correct,
SB
yeah.
Corp,
yes,
ano.
si Mr.
So,
Bastillo.
oo, si Mr. Basilio. Okay, so that's one. Meron din pong mga agreements ang ating regional operations group. They entered into agreements with other companies that would lend at a very low interest or yung preferential interest lang naman, no? Kasi syempre, it's still, after all, it's a business after all. But yes, we do have that.
Okay.
And of course, number 3, business matching. Baka may partner sila dyan na pwede, and that would hopefully minimize the need for capital.
What about for technical innovations, technical skill? May mga skilling kayo?
Opo, we also have upskilling. Yes, sir. So, Secretary Pascual actually looks at the STI-driven type. So, he wants science, technology, and innovation. So, when we do upskilling, we have trainings from our PTTC. We also are looking at Industry 4.0 to level up also the skills of our workers, and the services that we provide, even with the ITBPO. So that is the aim of government, sir. So hindi lang more than the call centers, for example, we do back end, we do higher level, and then the engineers come in, and eventually yung iba sana sa kanila mapunta into even microelectronics or chips production. That is the goal. Semiconductors and even microelectronics kasi may CHIPS Act ng ang US, di ba? So sana maka-benefit tayo doon. So
Great.
some of the ways.
So how can you provide us an update, Usec, on how the efforts of the DTI to streamline business
Oh,
registration
very important for every
and
year.
licensing processes para in compliance to improve the ease of doing business?
Yes. Oh, okay. So ease of doing business. Ano po yan, paborito pong usapin yan ni President and President Marcos and Secretary Pascual.
Yes.
Actually, there is an EO, so an Executive Order 18, which is the green lanes. So the establishment of the green lane is to streamline the processes precisely for strategic investments para sa malalaking negosyante po itong mga ito na papasok dito sa atin. Dahil ang karamihan ng complaints ng ating foreigners or potential na mga businesses that would come in is that napaka-tedious ng process natin dito para lang makapagbukas sila ng negosyo sa
Correct,
Pilipinas. So what we want to do is to try to handhold them. Basically, in layman's term, i-handhold po natin
Handhold
sila
them,
all the way down to the LGU, pati yung mga business permit nila. Tutulong po dyan, may intervention ang BOI, Board of Investments, ang DTI through the BOI, and even the PESA. So, tinutulungan po natin sila na makapasok dito ng mas mabilis. So, meron po tayong existing steps that has been under that EO, which the President himself had announced in middle of this year. I think that was July. Oo. So yun, streamlining, that's one. And of course, dito sa atin, sa domestic trade po, yung business name registration natin, ginawa na po natin online yan. So pwede na po kayo, I think, ilang minutes lang, a few minutes lang, pwede ka nang makapag-register ng business name mo online.
great,
Kung hindi po kayo sa SEC, kung dito po kayo, business name registration, we have hopefully made the process simpler and faster.
Great,
So it's easier to do that now po. So that's one. And of course, yung e-commerce, digitalization, those are also parts of what the DTI is looking at. And then finally, the Internet Transactions Act, which was signed recently into law by the President, although he had COVID last week, I think. So, dapat po yung signing nun sa Malacanang kasama po ang DTI. And nagkasakit ang Presidente. But he did that still via online din.
Yes, so it's now out.
It is now a law. So, yun po. So, those are some of the things.
How about USEC in terms of sustainable business practices? paano pinopromote ng DTI?
Environmental responsibility.
Oh, yes, sir. The DTI participated recently in the COP28, which is still ongoing
Were
right
you-
now,
was the-
right?
was the
So,
secretary there?
yes, the secretary was there also.
Secretary, yeah.
Si Presidente was also supposed to be there, but last minute, hindi
Si
siya
pinadala
nakapunta
si
because of
Rizal.
other concerns, right? But the secretary was also there, and the DENR, obviously,
Of
so
course, he was
other departments. So, in effect, we have this whole of government approach to addressing sustainability, to addressing climate change, and this is led by the DNR actually, and we were there to help adopt it. On the part of the DTI, yung pong sustainable namin na practices, we try to teach that through the consumers, consumer behavior, consumer waste, education, consumer education, and then for the ano naman po manufacturers, we promote renewable energy, electric vehicles, move to greener use, and then apart from that, also yung pong kanilang manufacturing facilities to hopefully utilize greener, more sustainable measures.
Yeah, meron lang akong question about sustainable business practices. Kasi way back years ago, parang na-compel all the business establishments, especially supermarkets, groceries, na to use no plastics. And then, nag-evolve, nagkaroon ng mga plastics that are biodegradable.
Yes.
But then, parang seems like, na parang bumabalik na naman. There's still, stores that use
using plastic.
Yeah, plastics. Now we don't even know. I mean, the consumers are not even aware how to, detect a biodegradable plastic from something
That's
that
true,
is
unless
biodegradable.
nakalagay doon,
Yeah.
nakatatak,
At saka
hindi
meron-
mo malalaman,
There's
di ba?
something yata in the feel of the
Oo,
material.
that's
So
true.
is the DTI doing something about that?
Okay, for the part of the DTI, yes, we are obviously, it's a continuous campaign, Gigi. Sa amin, actually, in the promotion of yung mga being a responsible consumer, we had last October yung Consumer Welfare Month. We had come out with information campaigns on this. In particular, when you talk about plastics, I think the answer that DTI is doing is to advocate the use of reusable bags, reusable packaging, in terms of, like, for example, even to the ordinary consumer, when you go to the grocery,
Bring
I
your
think ngayon, yes, so bring your own bag, and bring your own container. So yun po, and yung to lessen the use of let's say yung even in the straws, di ba? Lessen the use of plastic. That is what DTI is doing at this point. So siguro imbis na sabihin mo negative na okay, yung mga plastics bawal yan kasi there's a process to that and it's still there. So it's a process, but at the same time, you try to teach the behavior of the consumer to be different, to be more discerning at sila take on their own. Now, it's very common to see people, when you go to the supermarket, they bring their own bag.
Yeah.
Hindi ba? So, dahil dyan, it's a lifestyle, it's a way, it's being responsible as a consumer. Doon po namin kinukuha yung campaign na yan.
Alright,
On that regard.
So we just hope that, more Filipinos would be,
Yeah.
I think the adoption, I think now pati yung mga bata, if you look at the kids now, the newer generation now, they're very much aware, Gigi. So nakikita mo sila, lahat sila may dala-dala silang mga lalagyan ng kanilang mga drinks, no? Whether
Yes.
it be water or, di ba, it's not just a water bottle. And that's a very good sign, very encouraging sign. You look at the bags that they do, they all have reusable bags now. And I think in time, so for the next generation, you'll be able to see much more of that adoption.
Yeah, and we look.
I think Makati still is, I think Makati still complies with or is very strict about the use
Yes,
of,
yes, yes, that's
against the
true.
use of plastics in supermarkets and all that.
Okay. Very interesting discussion, Usec.
Yes.
But we have to ask for your parting words.
Wow, that was fast.
Yeah,
That was fast. Okay, so
What do we expect for next year? What are your What do you hope for? What are the projections? If there are
Something
any?
to look forward to for
Okay, so
consumers.
something to hope for
Yeah.
the consumers. Okay, thank you very much for that, for giving me this opportunity. On the part of the DTI, what is our hope? What is our goal? The same as the every other stakeholder, same as every other consumer. We hope that next year we'll have better conditions in the economy, more inclusive growth for everyone, and more jobs, obviously, so that it can sustain our economic growth. And at the end of the day, for the consumer, we have more affordable choices, more quality choices, and at more reasonable levels. So yan po ang aming hope. I think that's also the hope of other people too. And, I feel positive that we can achieve that.
That's great. Okay.
Yes.
So, on that note,
Yeah, on that note, thank you so much.
thank you so much for
Thank
your
you so
time
much,
and for this very interesting and
yes,
informative
Usec. And
discussion.
Thank you, thank you,
So
thank
that
We
you.
has
hope,
been
yes.
that has been another interesting episode of
Yes.
Straight Talk. And thank you again, Usec.
And we wish we wish the
Yes.
agency all the luck.
Thank you.
And,
Maraming salamat
Okay,
po.
thank
We
you very
need that.
much.
Yes.
All of us.
And
All of us need a lot of luck.
tune in again, mga katribu, next week for another episode of Straight Talk. And watch us every Wednesdays on Daily Tribune's Facebook page and Daily Tribune's YouTube now. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So we will,
Thank you.